The Coca-Cola burst across his frail shoulders in a cold splash, sinking instantly into the faded brown jacket he had worn for nearly 2 decades. Harold Thompson barely flinched, but the shock of the cold liquid made his already fragile body stiffen. The sticky soda streamed down his back and arms, dripping onto the cracked pavement below, where it shimmered under the harsh glare of the late afternoon sun. Around him, the air vibrated with laughter, not the kind that warms a room, but the kind that cuts, stings, and humiliates. A group of boys, barely older than 17 or 18, circled around him and his wife like predators that had found easy prey. They held their phones up high, recording everything, mocking, entertained by their own cruelty. Look at him, flinch. One of them snorted between bursts of laughter. Another shook the bottle harder, grinning like it was a party trick. He tipped it forward again, letting another wave of cold soda pour down the elderly man's neck. Beside Harold sat his wife, May, her frail hands trembling as she tried to wipe the soda off him with the small handkerchief she always kept in her purse. Her eyes were swollen with tears she could no longer hold back. Each drop that rolled down her wrinkled cheek carried decades of pain, love, and quiet resilience. Please, stop, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Just a few feet away, a little girl stood crying, Leah, only 7 years old, the neighbor's granddaughter who had been picking flowers in the yard moments before. When she saw Harold fall under the soda, she ran out onto the sidewalk, her tiny legs trembling, her face red from crying. Stop it. Stop hurting them, she screamed, stretching her arms out as if her small body could protect them from the cruelty. But the boys only laughed harder. Juan pointed his phone at her and said mockingly, "Look, the little hero is crying." No one saw the figure approaching from the far end of the street. Ethan Thompson had just arrived home after a long overseas deployment. A Navy SEAL for more than 10 years, he had survived firefights, explosions, and missions he could never tell anyone about. The scars on his body were nothing compared to the ones carried inside him. He had seen destruction, buildings collapsing, families torn apart, the hollow eyes of survivors left with nothing. But he had held on to one thought through every deployment, that his parents were safe, living peacefully in their quiet suburban neighborhood. He had planned to surprise them today. After 2 long years away, he wanted nothing more than to see his mother's smile and hear his father's soft, warm laugh. But as he walked toward his childhood home, still wearing his camouflage uniform, he noticed a crowd forming in the middle of the street. At first he thought it was a neighborhood gathering, but then he heard the laughter. Sharp, cruel, wrong. His steps slowed, his eyes narrowed, and when he finally saw the scene clearly, something inside him snapped, not in anger, but in a pain so deep it nearly brought him to his knees. There they were, his parents, the 2 people who had loved him, raised him, supported him. And now they sat on a curb drenched in soda, shaking, humiliated, while a group of boys recorded their suffering like it was a funny prank. His jaw clenched, his breathing shifted, his boots hit the pavement with a heavy thud as he began to walk toward them, each step controlled, deliberate, carrying the weight of emotions he had spent years learning to bury. The laughter didn't stop until he was close enough for the boys to see the determined, unflinching look in his eyes. One teen noticed him first, nudging the others. Guys? They turned, they froze. Ethan didn't yell. He didn't rush. He simply stepped closer, towering over them with silent authority. His presence alone felt like a shift in the air. What's funny? He asked quietly. No one answered. Not one dared breathe. The boy holding the soda bottle dropped it. It clattered to the ground, the last of the fizz spilling out weakly. The phones slowly lowered. Their smirks vanished. Their confidence faded like smoke. Ethan moved past them and knelt beside his parents. "Dad," he whispered, taking Harold's shaking hand. "It's me," May gasped softly. "Ethan," she breathed, touching his sleeve as if afraid he might be a mirage. He helped them both sit up straighter, wiping Harold's face with gentle hands that had once handled weapons and held dying comrades. This moment, somehow, cut deeper than all of that. When he finally stood again, the boys tried to retreat quietly, but Ethan stepped in front of them. "You think this is funny?" he asked, voice deeper now, threaded with emotion. "That's my mother, that's my father. They worked their whole lives while you record cruelty for likes." The boy who poured the soda stared at the ground. We were just joking," he muttered. Ethan took one slow step closer. "Cruelty isn't a joke. You don't tear people down to feel strong. Real strength is protecting those who can't fight back." The street went silent. A few neighbors peeked from their windows but didn't step out. The boys stood frozen, haunted by what they had done. Leia ran to May and wrapped her small arms around her waist, still crying. May held her close, stroking her hair to calm her. Harold looked at his son through blurry eyes. "You came home," he whispered. Ethan helped them stand, steadying them on each side. No more tears, he said softly. "Let's go home." As they walked back toward their house, the boys stood motionless, shame written across their faces. Some wiped their eyes, some deleted the videos without being told. For the first time all afternoon, there was no laughter. That evening. As the golden sunset painted the sky, Ethan sat with his parents on their porch. Harold leaned into him, tired but comforted. May held Leia close, her old hand still shaking slightly. Ethan breathed deeply, taking in the quiet neighborhood he once believed was harmless. He realized something, then something powerful. Not all battles are fought abroad. Some happen in the places we trust most. Some wounds aren't caused by weapons, but by people who forget compassion. And sometimes, the heroes aren't soldiers. Sometimes, they're little girls brave enough to shout for kindness. Sometimes they're elderly couples who endure pain with dignity. Sometimes they're ordinary people who choose not to look away when cruelty shows its face.